Very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I also want to thank the Honourable Member for Strangford for securing this important debate on the effect of COVID-19 on our historic churches. And I completely appreciate how the closure of churches used as places of worship have been an incredibly difficult time for many people of faith. Ipswich has 12 medieval churches and 6 are still used as places of worship. But I want to use this opportunity to briefly touch on some of the other 6 which are now used to provide important community services. Churches such as St Mary on the Quay near the Waterfront in Ipswich. After a bomb skidded into the Chancery in 1942, the church went unused for 30 years and was eventually vested in the hands of a redundant Churches Trust. With its fixtures and fittings moved to other churches, it was a shell of its former self. But it had a renaissance in 2008, Madam Deputy Speaker, when funding was used to restore the church and give it a new life as a Quay Place wellbeing centre run by a local mental health charity, Suffolk Mind. Unfortunately, though, Suffolk Mind had to take the decision last month not to reopen Quay Place after lockdown, partly because of a loss of income caused by COVID-19. Quay Place has been an important feature in our town since 2016, supporting many local residents, and it won't really feel like going back to normal without it there. I just finally talk also about the financial pressures caused by COVID-19 touching St Stephen's Church in our town centre, with the Borough Council announcing that the Tourist Information Centre located there won't reopen after lockdown. Even in the age of the smartphone, the centre was holding its own, selling theatre and coach tickets and advising tourists about Ipswich's many attractions. And it's a loss that this important way of our town welcomes visitors won't reopen. Like St Mary of the Quay, St Stephen's Church faced a crumbling fate before its restoration in 1994, and a recent history of our local churches is a reminder that they have been through difficult patches before. But it's now up to us to not let them fall into obscurity again and find new uses for them so they continue to be at the heart of our community as we recover from COVID-19. Madam Deputy Speaker, all of our churches in Ipswich are invaluable, whether they are used for worship or places of community, and they are fundamental parts of our town's heritage and Ipswich's story. We must not let the chapter of COVID-19 represent in that story mean that our great churches are allowed to gather dust and risk them not being there for future generations to benefit from them. So I agree with the Honourable Member for Strangford. Whether places of worship or places of community, particularly in Ipswich, which we know is the oldest town in the country, as much as Colchester might like to dispute that, we know how important our wonderful medieval churches are, so I'd urge the Minister to provide support, if necessary, to ensure that we can keep those icons and those bastions of what is so important about our town.
I'd also like to thank the Honourable Member for Ipswich for his comments, in particular about the very important community asset that is St Mary at the Quay Church. My understanding is that the CCT, the Churches Conservation Trust, is working to ensure that the space is able to reopen and serve his community again.